got up not as early as usual. I mean, it was still close before 6, I think, but got up kind of lazily, got myself out of the house by about 6:30, 6:40 to go run. Ran further than I wanted to, but didn't do any sprints like I wanted to. But I did run about 8 miles, and I was pretty zonked. I was pretty burned because I had done legs yesterday, and I was already kind of, I was already losing that fight. And so then I came home. I stretched for about 20 minutes because I was like, ugh, don't want to stretch, but I have to because I don't want to get all tight. And then I went, showered up, got ready to go, left, went and did my charity pickup. I've been picking up for a local Mill Creek tribe. I go to Amazon Go, and they give a bunch of stuff like once a week to the Mill Creek food bank. So I go pick it up for them, and it varies, from a few of those bins to today there was probably 12 bins, so it's filled up my SUV pretty good. And then I went, let's see, what else did I do? I went to go get my tires filled up in my wife's SUV because my sons are taking it to Portland tomorrow. So that's what they, a 4-hour drive. So she asked me to go check the tires for them. Came back here, unloaded some stuff. I did get a keep. I get a pick through and kind of keep stuff when I drop stuff off at the food bank. I don't take a lot, but today I got a good amount of little things, snacky foods, and unpacked all that, made some lunch. Here I am, ready to get to work, sort of. I feel pretty good. I mean, I don't feel like I'm gonna crash immediately, but I did immediately pop open a Ghost here, so I'm drinking that down to get me some of that caffeine mental kick. And so you're gonna have to bear with me while I chomp through some food and start doing some coding. Same thing I was doing. I'm working on the same process I have been all week, is getting things set up to try to start getting some basic simulation stuff going. Players moving on the field based on data pulled from the API. Right now it's just dummy data, but at least it's going through the process. Prefix, play log, player ID, action type. Player ID? Interesting. So this is building wasn't my idea, but AI doing this, and I'm trying to think if I like that. It's a lot of information for the play ID. But do I need all that information? I mean, it does make it a primary key, basically. You're building the play log out of the prefix, which is, I think, just PLY. And then it's going to do an underscore player ID, so which is the player, which for whatever reason they're using the team player. Changed it to team player, I don't know why. Where is player ID coming from? Oh, team player ID. Set basic fields. Here's a question. Why are we doing it this way? Changed from team player ID to player ID for consistency. That is not the same. Team player ID and player ID for the sake of the code. Team player ID represents a player on a team. But remember, these players in the game will be able to be on lots of teams, and lots of users will own them. So it's like you have I don't know who's current. Russell Wilson on your team. Oh my gosh, why would I mention Russell Wilson? Ah, pain, agony. Let's go with Bo Nix. If you have Bo Nix on your team, well, 20 other or 50 other or 1,000 other people could have Bo Nix on their team. But Bo Nix is a player in the system. Now, a team player is Bo Nix is on your team. Now, you might have two teams with Bo Nix on it. A person could have two teams, technically. But you only have one Bo Nix in your collection. So all of his playtime will go towards one card in the collection. So there's like a 1-to-1. Actually, it's a 1-to-many from player to collections and from collections to teams. It's kind of a branch out. So a team player is kind of like the lowest common denominator of players. So why does it do that? Well, I don't know. It shouldn't. A team player is it should be, is this, I assume team player is in here. What are they putting in here? ID. Team player is the team player.id, so it is in here. See, player source ID is the source player, and I only call it the source ID because it seems and the reason why you have a source ID is that you can go back to the player and get stuff like his number, his, I don't know, anything. Excuse me. You could get anything that happens to be contained within that character. So anyway, so that's kind of the premise behind that. What is message? Add entry. Don't know what that's supposed to be. But that's probably not going to have a route action result in it. So the action type and the message. So message, what is message? And do we want add entry with player ID? Add entry with player ID. Adds a new entry to the play progress log using just a player ID. This is a convenience method for backward compatibility or when we only have the ID. Why would we only have it? Why on earth would I ever want to add an entry to the progress log that has nothing but a player ID? That's not a thing. Getting rid of that. I don't know what the point of that is, but AI to log progress with just a player ID. What? You can't just add just a player ID. What is that? It's not even an option. You've got to have, I mean, the whole point of the log is to have all the other stuff. And when you sneeze, sinuses open up. Let's see where this is called from. So I can see what that's supposed to be. I feel like we might be missing stuff on the log. I feel like that's not the whole log. I don't even know, what is it supposed to return? Oh, it doesn't. It just adds to the database. A play progress log, I think, is a lot more robust than that. That seems really light. Run play test. Definition, comment, log.add entry. Wait, log.add entry? Why is it called log? Oh. Isn't that conflictory? Isn't log like... Oh, maybe it's debug.log that I'm thinking of. Huh. So a log is a play progress log object. And is add entry a thing on here? I don't even know you can... How does that define that? So you can add properties of an object by defining them as that? Interesting. I didn't know you could do that. I don't like these tests. This allows for silent crashing. That's like, silent crashing is the worst. Oh, if it's nil, oh, well, let's not do anything. And so nothing happens. And you're like, what is going on? Why is nothing happening? Oh, it's all because you have this stupid nil test that's not even trying to do it. Oh, I need to see an error. This should be a crash. Like if it is in nil, it should be like, hey, the log isn't set. You should be getting an error handler effect, not a let's not do anything if the log's not there. That's AI takes very cautionary actions that are meant to keep your code silent. So hey, if it makes a mistake, you can't see it because it put in all of these safety checks that make sure that code doesn't complain about being broken. At some point, probably in the next few weeks, assuming I can get to a couple of milestones for myself, I got to replace all the logging in here. The entire app. Everywhere that an error would occur that I need to replace any logging it's doing with logic logging that would go to the database so that I can trace errors. Because right now I can't trace any errors. If somebody else were to have a crash that showed some of these errors, the only way I'd know about the errors if they gave it to me, they'd have to kind of give me a reproduction area. But if I could log every error that comes into the database and have it tell me what's the procedure it's at, any information I can get from that. And then ideally, most actions would have like a stream of logging that goes with them. So I can say, oh, here's the error, but here's all the actions that happened previous to that error. Of course, the log would have to keep getting purged. But if I can do stuff like when they log out, or at the end of every session of anybody's playtime, or even periodically, it just goes through and dumps any string of actions that didn't have an error. Because I only need to know the string of actions that lead me to an error. So I would keep logging, just keep logging stuff, and have certain points at which, like might be the end of an action or whatever, has some point that occurs that's like, okay, well, if there's no error in the stream that comes before this, you can purge it. So it would constantly be purging itself of log entries, but keeping the stream of data related to an error. So any errors that occur, I can go, oh, this error keeps occurring at this point, and I can see that it's happening when la 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 is happening. So you kind of have to have that string of errors or string of logging. It's kind of like building your own call stack, right? So you have this happen, this happen, this happen, and then error. Like, something's wrong. I'm trying to decide if I want this to... I got add entry here, which is this going on this, but log action progress, which I'm not sure why. Why do we have log action progress, which just calls add entry? Why don't I just call add entry instead of calling log action process? That's another one. They're like, why are we doing it that way? It's like helper function to log action progress, but why not just call log add entry? Just another weird thing. Let's go see where this is being called from. Oh, let's call this one. Got a lot of this, but it's just a weird thing. If add entry requires the team player, which will come from that action type and message, why do we need the whole log? Oh, because such a weird thing. Hitch executed hitch route action. Oh. Now we're going to go like this. We're going to go bool action results. True. We're going to go Control C, and we're going to do this. We'll just assume everybody's successful. Which sucks, because I got to do this 1,000 times. There's no way to replace this comment either, because it's different for every one of these. And this is for every action possible. In fact, there may be more actions to come. I'm just and this, I may even have to change how this is being called. We got play progress log. Why don't I just go like add entry? That would be way more direct instead of that nonsense. You know what? I think I might have AI help me with this. It's because I don't want to do it. I'm being lazy. There's like 1,000 of these. Okay, so we're going to go here. Dot. Is it add entry? Where'd it go? It was there a second ago. I just put it in. What are you doing? Things like, it's add entry. It's the case sensitivity I'm afraid of. And then this guy should have we're going to go over here. And this should be a bool. And we'll dump this because I don't want it anymore. Now, unless there's some reason why I can't call my function directly. Log action progress. I don't know why I wouldn't be able to do it directly, but we're going to find out. Alright, it doesn't like this. Nope. What did I do wrong? It's defining it and setting it to true. Oh. Oh, that's right. You don't have to say the type if you... That's right. My go. My go. All right. Oh, I don't need this. Team player, action type, and message pool. That's action type is a string. Yeah, because what else would it be? Yeah, it has to be a string. Why is action type showing up as a bool, and why is it defined here as a bool? How do I even change the definition of it? Var action type. So somewhere, is add entry getting a definition somewhere that I'm not seeing? What am I at? This is the where is action type being defined? Why is action type? Action type is showing up as a bool. Is that is that a default type thing? If I go string, will it change? Oh, weird. I didn't know you could do that. So the default of a variable is bool. Huh. Still learning Go, man. Still learning Go. These are things I did not know. So if you don't put in anything, it's going to assume it's a bool, which is pretty interesting. I think it's kind of goofy to even have that. I feel like it should be declared. I mean, you shouldn't be able to like just say, hey, variable, you are what you are. And like, oh, well, I guess I'll be a Boolean. pick your type, variable. I don't care. I'll just work with whatever you give me. Okay, so what else am I missing? I'm missing an ID, and I'm still trying to figure out how I want that to go in. Do I need it to have a player ID and the action type? And do I even need an ID to be defined? Creating an ID out of multiple parts is interesting. I mean, I'm trying to think how that would work, or what is the benefit of that. I mean, would I use it in any way is all I'm saying. Because it'd be PLY underscore PLYR or TPLYR underscore some number followed by go or hitch, and I'd be able to identify. But the thing is, all those values are in the play log as their own thing. So why create complicated IDs? Why not just have the ID just for the sake of distinction to identify the different records? I don't know why I would. I'd be more likely to want it to identify by like a unique play ID with a game state extension. Game state with whatever the game state is. That to me would be more useful. But I don't have the game state in this situation. Now game state is also part of the play log. I'm just for some reason I'm not pulling it in here either. Which probably should be something we pull in. Pretty sure my play log has game state. Yeah, there's this game state ID. We're going to need the game state ID. Again, putting it in the ID, probably not that useful. I mean, there's no real benefit to putting it in the ID. Because I can grab, if I want all the ones by game state, I'll grab all of the ones by game state. If I want them all by player, I'll grab them all by the player. Now game state actually links them all by their play. So the entire play would come in with a game state. If I want all the players for a given play and all the actions that they did, I can get that from a single game state. And if I want all of the actions of a player for a single game state, like I just want to know what one player did, then I can just grab both. If I want to grab all the things that a player did in an entire game, I can just go grab it by the team player ID and the game session. But game session would have to be a little harder to get that, but I can get it. Because I'd have to get all the game states for the game session and then get all the players that come along with it. Definitely a lot of things you got to think about when you're pulling up data like this. But my logs need to have a game state. Trying to decide what information I need to pass. Here's an interesting fact. Why do I need step speed here? The player moved. It doesn't matter how fast he moved. Why are we logging the step speed? Plus, because a player's speed is his speed. It's not going to change during a play progress log. I mean, I guess theoretically it could. If I keep track of the step speed on the log, that could affect. I could use that for degrading speed. So like his speed is X, but after 40 yards, it's X minus whatever. Because otherwise you have to pass a degradation up some other way. You know what? I think I am going to use that. Speed of player in this step. Reflex. Reflex. The player's speed after speed change as play progresses. I'm considering other speed situations. Okay. Things like a player's acceleration. If a player stops and turns around, well, he's basically going from zero, but he's going from speed to zero, then back up. Players with good acceleration, speed will change quickly, right? It'll go up to their maximum speed. and that'll affect the step speed. How fast are they going in that step? So usually it only takes probably a couple of steps to reach full speed. But I would say some players with like slightly less acceleration might not reach full speed for a little longer. Like me, when I go sprint from a starting position, it probably takes me 6 or 7 yards before I'm at full speed. Maybe 10. I don't know. I can tell. I can tell that I just don't come off the line very quickly. Now, if I was to get down in a block or something like that, but you don't have a block when you're starting, out like that. And even with cleats, which will probably help a little bit, you still have a certain amount of power requirement out of your legs to accelerate. And so I think speed or acceleration. Now, one of the things I always used to be pretty good at was quickness, which quickness is like acceleration, but it's really your instantaneous actions from stop to nothing. It doesn't mean you're at full speed right away, but like your response time to a particular action is your quickness. So, for example, something falls from a shelf and you go to catch it. A lot of people are kind of slow in that effect, but like if something were to fall from my bookshelf, I reach out and see it through the corner of my eye. Quickness will have me catch the object. Some people might see it fall and they would just, by the time they even, acknowledged it, they are already too late. It's already falling. It's gone. I tend to have pretty high quickness, which comes from reflex, right? It's your ability to inject your reflexes through whatever action and mental connections you have triggering in your mind. You're able to respond. Now, if you can pull your reflex action, reflex speed, into whatever you're doing, that's your quickness. It's not actually the same. Now, a lot of really good sprinters and world-class sprinters, really fast sprinters who are great at starting from the line, their acceleration might be fired by their quickness. How quick are they off the line? Because that first explosion is their quickness. How fast can they go? And it's not just, say, for example, you've got power to push something up. So you go, woof, it's like still has a little bit. It's still power. But then the people that have high quickness are actually faster at the injection of speed. And even though their acceleration might be the full push, some people might just be really strong at pushing it out, or somebody who's really quick might not be able to push it as hard, but they're going to start pushing sooner. It's all instantaneous. It's all fractional, but it can make the difference in things like hitting the line on a snap, responding to somebody about to tackle you. How quickly can you inject your body to dodge? Dodging things is oftentimes an action of quickness, not so much an action of speed. I mean, you may be a fast person, but if you don't have the quickness to go with it, the ability to move quickly or fast is not always the same. This is why they have acceleration and speed as two different things, because it takes a moment, and being quick is like acceleration on steroids. But oftentimes the quickness is just how fast you engage the muscles, how instantaneous are they in engaging the muscles. And it can be as little as fractions of a second, tenths of a second, hundredths of a second, because it's so small, but it can make that difference in how quickly you explode from zero to something. Anyhow, because I think there's a distinct difference. People who think, oh, acceleration and quickness are the same thing. I don't think so. I think there is a difference. It's like an extra layer. It's actually, quickness is the time it takes for your brain to send the signal for your muscles to accelerate, to do something. And somebody who's very quick can send that signal to their muscles faster. Like their brain is already, it's almost like foresight, predictive actions. Like you know it's about to happen. These are also a lot of the same people, the very quick people that jump the gun. Because they're so quick that sometimes their response time to something like a gunshot is ahead of the game, and it will literally fire them out of the block slightly before. So that's why I say it's almost predictive. You know what it is. You have those muscles. Your brain is very fast to respond, and sometimes it triggers just a speck too soon, and you end up on the wrong side of the ball. Or you're ahead of the gun. As they say, jump the gun. All right, so I'm going to keep step speed. I wasn't going to, but I'm going to keep it. That's where that all comes down to. All that mumbling and rambling. I'll just try and tell you what I think and how I'm trying to explain it in my head how step speed's going to be used in the future. And so I had to put a note so I don't forget, because I'm going to forget later. All right, so yeah, we're going to keep step speed. But a lot of this stuff has to come into the entry. So if we're going to log an entry, we got to have all this. So if every action has a step speed, which is basically going to be the player speed, which means I got to get the player. There's going to be a lot of things that have to be gotten for this player. There's team player ID, team play info, which is probably under players, players types. So we got the player. This is the root, the source player ID. Source player ID. And other strings. All right, so we have player collection represents a user collection of players. We got the source player source ID. Oh, that's probably wrong. All right, so we have that in the collection player, and then we also have in the team player only fields that diverge from source data. These are fields, like it says, from that diverge. They could change. A person's weight, number, all that stuff could actually change. Player skills. So I gotta figure out a way to start pulling things like player skills, skill modifiers. So modifiers. See, I gotta start putting comments down to show what these are. Skill modifiers. X player skills. Often. Temporary. Effects. Player skills. Now, skill modifier XP. Huh. What is the idea behind the XP on a skill modifier? I know when I created it, I had a reason, but I got to start putting notes down on this stuff. General earned experience. Skill modifiers can change what their skills are, but they're not permanent. Skill modifiers XP. I'll start creating definitions of everything. Got too many. I got like have a database of definitions of what things are. Now we'll hold on to it till I define it later. I don't need it yet. I'm not working on XP yet, but that's a later effect. General earned XP just goes towards the character's overall experience. I think skill modifiers XP or skill XP is specific to an action. It's like a player who just plays a lot, is used on lots of teams or whatever. They can earn XP that's just applicable to whatever. Skill XP, and I'm not sure, one of those might not be kept, but the ultimate idea is behind that is to allow for like users maybe to be able to assign some XP the way they want it on their players. But I have to look up skills to get speed. It's an interface. Player period stats represents aggregated stats for various time periods. Oh. Game stats, highlight captures. Collection player. I think the idea behind this modifiers is that it's a temporary XP that can help you to accomplish things that might only work temporarily, but those actions all generate towards the general XP, but I might not be sure. Probably because I haven't fully defined it. We got to go back and define it. I got to sit down and go, okay, well, this is how I want this to work and how I want players to get experience for blah, 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 blah. I already know where they're getting their experience from. How that's going to trigger and how that's going to be stored is kind of the question of the day. But right now, let's go back. I think I know how I want this to affect. Oops, where am I? Let's close that. We're going to go here. Oh, there's no save all here. Let's go back to the play progress log. Add entry. So entry has to have a lot more info. That is not going to be nearly enough entry information. So I got to figure out how to get all the play progress log entry in there, because this guy, so what are these actions? In the current file only, please update each of the action methods to use the same setup as the action hitch action functions. Temporary action result equals true, and replace the log action progress with direct call to play progress log dot add entry. No other changes this time. Current pattern action hitch functions needing updates. In the route actions file, all action functions need to be updated to follow this pattern. Based on code review, there are two types of issues that need correction: functions that use progress instead of direct calls, functions that don't declare. The main difference I've identified are most functions call blah 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 directly using blah blah. Most functions are missing. In action cut, parameters are incorrectly ordered, which needs to be fixed. All action functions in the file from action go through need to be updated to follow the pattern. Each function will need blah 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 blah. The changes should be applied to all 20 actions. Okay. Hopefully this will go pretty straightforward. I mean, if you can give it a thorough thing, the amount of time it would take me to go through here and not make an error, this should be a lot faster by the AI to do it. You just got to be very careful, because when you use agent, you got to give it very precise and confined spaces to work with, because if you allow it to go nuts, it'll go, here, let me update this code and that code and rewrite this code, and you're like, no, just do what I asked you. So I told it, this file only change these, just do this. And I know there's 28 methods here, and I just don't want to miss anything. And I figure when I've done this before, if you do it right, it's a lot more useful. Now, that said, add entry is probably going to have to be updated with either more values to get the log to work correctly, because there's a lot more stuff that needs to go into an entry. That player, hitch, and result are not going to cover. Entry needs to cover a lot more stuff than that. And I may have to have entry be smarter, like to add things like, okay, well, we know we're doing this, we can look up the player and get his speed, or, you know, any number of other things. But yeah, because the action hitch, I really just care about the action hitch functioning, right? I just needed to do the hitch, test the hitch. That's all it really needs to do. So if I were to go to add entry, I might have to have the entry say, okay, well, I'll go get this information, or Go retrieve additional stuff to add in that might come from a source logic. Or I might pass in I may have to pass to each one of these a loaded progress log. So we have a progress log. We're adding all these entries. Well, maybe I need to actually add before each call the extra information. So prepare the progress log to be correctly ready, and then when add entry comes along, see, how would that work? I might Yeah, I don't know. Add entry would be a new thing. I may have to have like some kind of a temporary progress log value to add to, because if I take the log and say add entry, it's going to create a brand new entry, and that won't work unless I pass the progress log in. Yeah, I'm going to need some other stuff. These are going to have to be more thorough. And I don't know if I want the action hitch to individually add it, because it's going to be a lot of the same stuff. Game state. We're going to give it the player, which is fine. I could have add entry go to the player because it has the player object. Are we done? That's how it looks. Yeah, I think we're good. All right. I must be thirsty because this is really going down well. Like I feel like every time I drink from it, I want to guzzle it. Which is not necessarily great. I mean, it's not high calorie or anything, but it's still when you drink something and it just tastes so good, even though sometimes it doesn't, it usually means you're really thirsty or you're just really craving it. My dad told me a story one time. Where was he? He says they were out working or something, and it was hot and sweaty, and they hadn't been drinking much, and they were just miserable. And somebody came to their work site or whatever they were working on, and they brought like the cheapest beer ever. I don't know if it's Pabst Blue Ribbon or some beer that's known to be like the cheapest on the shelf. Stuff that he knew wasn't very good. But, he's like, well, I'm thirsty. I'm going to drink something. So he opens one up and he drinks it. And he goes, my gosh, this was the greatest beer ever. He had said, I went out that night. We went out to go drink later. I had to order some. It was so good. And he was like, yeah, this is terrible. And it's like, your brain, when it needs something or wants something like hydration or whatever, it'll settle on things that you normally would not. And it would be like, this is great. Like me, I like bananas. They're fine. Well, I had a similar story. But, I'm not like, oh, bananas are the greatest thing. If I was going to say that about any fruit, it'd be pineapple. Pineapple. It's just the bomb. The bomb. Yeah, I said the bomb. It's like the ultimate. It is like the best fruit. God created the perfect fruit in a pineapple. Some people are like, but it messes your mouth up if you eat too much. And I was like, maybe if you don't cut off enough of the kernely things on them, I guess, at the end. But as besides the point. Well, I ran was my first? I think it might have been my first ever marathon. Half marathon is what it was, because it was my first ever. So I didn't start off all the way on marathons. And I just remember running this marathon. It was a Seattle half marathon. I remember they have the worst thing. I have an uncle who runs marathons all over the country. He comes with us one year and he runs this marathon. He goes, the marathon here, the Seattle marathon, is quite possibly the hardest marathon has ran anywhere. He said it was harder than some of the full marathons he ran. Because one of the problems is they have a really kind of steep hill at the end of the race, like within the last mile or two of the race. So this is when you're tired, you've been burning through all your energy, and it throws this hill at you. And it just sucks it all out of you. So yeah, then you're trying to finish, and it's just like, dragging your butt to the finish line. And that was the case. I run this thing, and it's like, this is my first ever marathon. And I just remember thinking, I'm so hungry. And I was just drained, out of energy. It's like this, going through my head going, I am never running another marathon. I don't know how anybody ever does a full marathon. I'm not doing it ever. Needless to say, I went on and I think I've run like 4 full marathons and a lot of half marathons since then. But that day I was like, it's never going to happen. And so I get to the end of this race and I'm just like, I'm really good at running strong at the end. And I did manage to strengthen up and run through and pass a few people at the end because that's what I do. I just always seem to have juice at the end. But when I was done, I was like, okay, that's the end of me. I'm done. I'm not getting it. And I'm just like, ugh. It's just famished and tired. I'm moving in. I'm walking down through the walk area, the finished area. And somebody comes out to me and they could see that I'm like, I'm not doing great. She comes out to me, one of the helpers or volunteers, and she brings me a banana. And I'm like, oh, thank you. And I open it up and is this holy water? Is this blessed banana? What is this? This is the greatest banana in the history of bananas. I was like, and each bite, I just absorbed it. My body's like, oh, heaven. This is the greatest banana ever. I'm just engulfing it. And I'm like, at the end, and I'm like, oh, I got to get me another banana. So I went and grabbed it and brought it with me. And they have all kinds of stuff at the end of these races. Gatorade and chocolate milk and stuff. And then, I'm collecting all this stuff as I go to the end. And finally I sit down somewhere and I'm eating and eventually I eat the other banana. I mean, it was fine, but it wasn't like when I first ate it. I just remember thinking there has never been a better banana in the history of the world than the one I finished at the end of that race. My body was like, yoink, it just like absorbed it like it was just sent straight from heaven into my hand. I was like, I just could not fathom how a banana could taste that good. That's how good it was. And so I've had decent bananas since then, but never anything like that. So when your body is craving something and wants something, it is so much better. Just like the difference between, you want dessert at the end of the night, right? But if you had a big dinner and you're a dessert eater like me, I like to have my desserts. I got that from my grandfather, by the way. He has to have dessert after every meal. But I like to have desserts at night. And I won't eat dessert most of the time during the day. If I do, it's a little tiny snacks here and there, but I don't usually eat much. At the end of the night, I gotta have something, oftentimes. And if I'm full, I'll still do it. I'll still eat something. And the dessert's fine. It tastes good, usually whatever it is. Even if it's something I really like, it's all right. But if you're hungry, say you skip dinner and that dessert is sitting there, and you're like, I gotta have some dessert. I mean, it's too late to eat dinner. Let's just go ahead and have a little tiny piece of dessert. It's just so much better. It's just like your body when you're not in a state of not needing it. When your body needs something, it'll up the desire and the enjoyment of it versus wanting something. Just wanting something doesn't generally make it better. It might be okay. It's adequate. It's not like you won't come back and eat some more. But the true enjoyment comes when your body's like, I need this sugar kick. I need this water, this banana, this beer, whatever it is. wants something and it needs it. It needs whatever it's going to provide it. And it just tastes good. I'm reading this book called The Terror, which, by the way, is if you've ever seen Black Hawk Down, it's like that except with ships. These guys are just having the worst trip, and you're like, I don't think anybody's going to survive this trip. I still got 10 hours to go, and they are not in a good state right now, and it doesn't look like it's going to get better. But anyway, this guy they're not eating much. Their food is mostly rotten. They're having a terrible time go of it. This guy who follows this Eskimo girl who's been with them out to wherever she's been going at night, and there's this monster thing that's been terrorizing them. The Terror is the name of their ship, but it fits the story. He follows her into this like little igloo thing that she built, and it's all warm in there and cozy, and she's got some seal, and she gives him some of the seal, and it was terrible. He hated it. It was gross. He wanted to vomit. But they don't communicate, right? I mean, the girl couldn't talk. She had her tongue cut out, but she also didn't know English or anything like that. So there was really no way except for hand signals to really talk to her. And she didn't know, it wasn't like they knew sign language. It was just blah, 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 but he eats it, and his body was like, oh, that's, his body wanted more, even though his taste buds were like, this is the worst thing ever. I forgot. They have some pretty graphic descriptions of what's bad. And he had some pretty good ones, and I can't remember what they were, but it's ultimately like eating something out of the garbage, or what he imagined dead, rotted, blah, blah, blah would taste like. But this was seal that was fresh. I mean, he knew that. He could tell that. And that was better for his body because they hadn't had any meat. A lot of these people were suffering from some amount of scurvy, and they're just in terrible shape, and their body just needs those nutrients that come from something like fresh, fatty seal meat. And so his body wanted more, so he ended up eating one or two more pieces, and it actually helped him a lot. And later he was as things get worse and worse and worse over time, they get, their bodies just need it more and more and more. And he meets some Eskimos. This is days or weeks or even months later. I mean, because they're all trapped out in the ice. It's just, it's terrible. And so they're all out there, and he meets some Eskimos, and he doesn't really know how to talk to them, but they kind of manage through it, and they end up kind of being friends, and the Eskimos offer him food, which, of course, there's a bunch of fish, and there's some seal. He actually asks for seal. So they slice him off a chunk, and he's like, good to go, man. His body's now like, he's aware of the taste, but now his body's like, yeah, I just want that. I just got to have it. And the guy was just eating it with them, and they were enjoying it. And he wasn't getting that sick, vomity feeling anymore because his body like knew what this was going to do for him, and it was just good. So taking something that tastes like crap, garbage, grotesqueness, if your body needs it, wants it, your body will tell you this tastes delicious. It will. It'll move it up that chart of terrible. Now, for him, it probably went from this is the worst possible thing you can imagine eating in taste and flavor, all the way up to I can eat this and not have any problem with it. It wasn't like he was like, oh, I'm going to be craving this forever and ever and ever. This is like the greatest thing since, it's not like he was thinking it was chocolate cake, but it was like, didn't bother him at all anymore. And he could just eat it because it had moved up from way down here when you're talking about regular everyday foods to, your favorite desserts. And there's the gap between them is this big, which in your daily life looks this big, but compared to how bad things can be, it was, massively different. So for him, it had moved all the terrible, massive bad out to this is good enough to eat and be happy about it. And so, things are really bad for these people. And things didn't end well for him in a different way, but that's a whole nother issue. Anyway, so, And all that comes from my loving the way my drink was tasting earlier. Because apparently 8 miles of running and moving around throughout the morning has made the drink taste better. But it moved what I call adequately taste or decently flavored stuff to really good flavored stuff. I got to keep putting my drink in because if I don't, it will eventually get warm. All right. Keep plugging away here. All right, so we got all the actions updated. We put in all of the new setups. I'm going to need to pass more to the entries, but it might not be too big of a deal right now. All right, so we still got to figure out how I'm going to do with this ID. I think I want to change. So we're creating a play progress log, but there's got to be more to this entry. And because each play progress log so this is returning it. So why would it have a null? If we're not passing in a play progress log, then why would we ever have a null? See, this is like it's testing for a null, but we're creating an object. I just think that's under what circumstance if it's no. Right. Let's go to ask. This is just an agent asking, me trying to learn. And that works. So I don't know why it's different for this. Code base. Function add entry creates a pointer P to a play progress log. So how would it ever be null per the first line check in function? I say null, it says nil. Same thing. Go uses nil. C# uses null. I think SQL Server uses null. I don't know why. I don't think there's any difference between null and nil. It just means 0 or nothing. This is a wrapper around the protobuf generated struct that embeds the protobuf struct as a pointer. So P is a pointer to the wrapper struct progress log. When would this happen? The check, if nil, isn't checking if P is nil, but if the embedded protobuf pointer is nil. This could happen if someone directly created a play progress log without using new play progress log. The embedded play progress log would be nil. The embedded protobuf struct was explicitly set to nil after creation. The embedded protobuf struct was explicitly set to nil after creation. Is this check? Now the check is defensive programming. Properly initializes this embedded struct. So I just fear any defensive programming that allows for bad code. Okay, so what this is saying is we are expecting play progress log to be set up already. P, I guess, to be properly defined. However, if it's not, we will do it here. So what that allows for is bad code, right? Because if your code is not following the definitions you defined for it, then you are going to have scattered code. And then people are going to be like, well, why does this do this here? And why does this do this there? And you're losing the proper structure of your code, right? So in some places it'll become confusing because some things will be like, well, why do you call add entry without this and then you call it with? Well, add entry doesn't need it because it's going to create it itself. It's okay. Then what do we need new play progress log for if we're only going to call it sometimes? My feeling is either use new play progress log or don't. And I have a feeling that there may be what this is doing so something somewhere is creating this. But how is that working? So we got play progress log wraps the protobuf play progress log type and adds additional functionality. Embed the protobuf generated play progress log. I don't know what the additional functionality. Oh, the additional functionality is adding the add entry, for example. Oh, I see what it's doing. It's creating this object at which we can add other things. But right now it's only add entry. But it could be good for like sum this or add that or do other functionality to a play progress log. Like aggregate or something like that, which will create a special log that maybe shows the aggregated values or maybe returns another object, get aggregated results for a play, which could be interesting. Do stuff with the play progress log that allows me to do more with it. Right now it's add entry is all you got. But I can see how maybe that's usable. If all code only uses new play progress log to create instances, a check might be redundant. However, it's a safeguard against improper initialization or modification elsewhere in the code base. What I'm going to do instead, I'm going to do an error here because I don't like the idea debug.log. Is it log? Why are we using log in some places? Log dot. Is it print line? Maybe it's print line. Yeah, see, that's why I don't like calling something log. No, I'm not going to say initializing. Oh, this should be, I think it's, is it error? Dot error F. Use to create a new instance prior to adding entries. What did I do wrong here? Fatal if? I don't want a fatal. I mean, is it a fatal situation? No, fatal's like terrible. I'm not using fatal. Fatal's like, let's break everything. I don't like fatal. I know I have error. What do I need? I probably have the wrong object here. Let's go find this. Status, format. And we'll go here, return. Because obviously if that happens, it's a bad thing. I know I'm introducing an error that actually breaks the code, but I don't want code that's inconsistent. So for me, it has to be, I'd rather it be locked down and stable. So call new play progress log first, because if there's other entries and other functionalities going on, you shouldn't need to have these. If they're all catching and doing the job themselves, then why do we need new play progress log them at all? It's defensive, yes, but it's not proper. What I'm saying. I understand defensive code. Defensive code to me though is catching. If your application will not work, then you can't have it be a silent catch. You can't simply just like ignore the problems, because what you end up doing is writing spaghetti code. You end up with code that is sloppy and hard to follow because you're like, oh, well, if this isn't there, let's just fix it here. And don't write code like that. Ow, I got it. Ow. I can just tell when I start to slouch, start to bend, and I need to sit up straight. Let's go ahead and add some comments up here. Prior to adding an entry, new play progress log should be called to create a new instance. Can you underscore? Are you allowed to underscore here? I don't even think that's a thing, huh? Probably not even a thing. Yeah, I didn't think so. Let's do something else. Trying to call it out in some way. Oops. Oops. Okay. So I'm tempted to just remove this, to be honest. I know the thing is, having an error that catches it, now that's defensive programming. It like says, this is what you did wrong. We don't have this play progress log. Go define it. Set it up. Put it somewhere where it defines it and we have a nice logic. I I mean, this is going to set it, and theoretically it'll exist at that point, and you can keep calling it, but I don't want to do it that way. So we're going to use this new play progress log. Okay, so what I need to do, though, is I have a whole bunch more stuff that needs to come in as part of this. And I got to decide how I want this ID. I think I want to update this to use... I don't want it to do it this way. But we have prefix play log. But other than that, I needed to use a... I just don't see any reason to have any extra information in this. Is it distinct even? Player by action. That wouldn't even be a distinct. That wouldn't even be a distinct ID. That would not even be a distinct ID, because the same player could do a move action 3 times in a row. That's not going to make it. And the result or action type would be move, 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 and the player is the same player and it's the same log. That's not even a good ID. So yeah, that's actually not a good object whatsoever. All right, so I got to put ID back in my progress log, because that's how we're putting it in. We got to create an ID. So if that's where it's being created, I don't know why I took it out, because I wasn't thinking it through, which I do sometimes. I keep thinking I'm thinking it through, but then I go, oh, I missed something. I sometimes think all I'm doing is passing code back, but I'm also creating the log, which is, and I use the same method to do it. Game session, game state, play progress log, which means this is string ID. Which is not game ID. Ah, gosh, that's the worst. 2, 3. There you go. We'll just circumvent that. Okay. All right, where's my common? Oops. All right, so we need to split you out, close you off, open up this guy again. And for now, yeah, okay, so my add entry is missing boat tons of stuff. So we're creating an object, and we are adding a new entry. Each entry has to have all of these values. But question is, at what point do I define the other values? Like, and how do I get that? So if I add entry, I mean, I have a lot of values that need to be ID'd, but that means, do I have to pass them all into my entry? not all. I mean, you wouldn't be doing a block if you have the ball. So blocks wouldn't have the ball. If you're doing a block, you don't have the ball. But you could be moving with the ball. Defensive players would never have the ball. I'm just trying to decide what actions, what things can occur because there's a certain flow of actions. They all have to go in there. And I'm trying to decide if I want to build them all up at once or test each action and add those values to it. What I'm thinking about doing is creating a log entry, play progress log entry, that gets passed around like an object. And then that object would in turn add its values using add entry. So I would have to create an entry object that we would just then send it back to the log. It just basically has all the values that would be necessary to create. This way I only have to pass that entry object, and I can pass that entry object around to for each player. Each player would create an entry object. And I think that might be the best way to do it, because this way for everything that's happening with that player, he gets his entry and it has to fill all these values up. So I might once, like his route action might do X, Y, and Z. So we could, if I'm just trying to decide if every route action needs to do all of the different parts, and then I have to assign those parts. Like I said, if I just had an entry that had all those fields, all I'd have to do is add that entry so I could build it and not have to come back here and map it. That's what I'm thinking. Let's see what this would do. Let's do this in ask. I want to use the add entry method a bit differently. There are a lot more fields than what is shown here to make up a progress log entry. Is it possible to create an progress log entry object that we can in turn pass through to add entry to simply add to the progress log without having to map every field. Like a single record. Being added to progress array. I would, during play progression, each player would have an entry, but several values might be set at different times of the progress log population, different times of the play. Common values such as game state might set prior to calling route actions. Runtime actions might update other fields such as fumbles, recoveries, etc. Fumbles. So one of my features is the ability to do challenges. And I've added code in to handle notifying the player when a challenge might be useful. Okay, so when you have to decide if you want a challenge. Now, not every play can be challenged, but sometimes certain parts of a play can be. Some might have very low chance, some might have higher chance, and it's determinate mostly on the chance of success, on winning the challenge. And it's typically something that only gets set on the last action of a play, on like the last step, because that's when things occur. That's the ending point of a play. Or maybe, no, it could happen in different places, right? I mean, you could think, was it a catch? But, if he wasn't touched or tackled, he could have got up and ran. In which case he may not have catched it. Maybe he caught it on a bounce, but you can't be sure. But the game might tell you, hey, there's a chance he didn't catch this ball. And then the coach, the defensive coach, might want to challenge it. And then I want to have like different clues as to what kind of challenge you can do, but you only get 2. So it might be interesting to see. I don't know. I would like to do some animations or something to go with that. What I might just do is something simple like an image of a referee I actually think I want to do stuff. They may be 2D characters, or maybe I'll put get some referees in there that look like 3D characters. Just stick them in there, and have them and have images assigned to them. It might not be the most beautiful thing, but like have like just some characters in there. No animations. Just stick them in. so they can call. Hmm. I got some great ideas in my head. How many of them are going to get out? All right, I got to take a break. I'll be back shortly. I don't expect to be gone long this time, but next session will be more the same. So we'll keep plugging away. It's Thursday. We'll see if I can get this thing working.